Hello, good evening. Well, I'm fresh out the shower and I'm drinking wine out of a jam jar. I don't know why, but today was actually quite nice because it was a bit overcast and I'm in Colorado, and the sun, the sun here just never stops. Ironically, I moved to America because in England the rain never stops, and I was like, I'm sick of the rain and I want some sun. And for the first couple of years that I was in Colorado, I was loving it, loving it. I was just like, yeah, bring on the sun. And then you just get so sick of it. It's just oppressive. It just never goes away. An overcast day is a blessing. So that was today, so it was lovely. Anyhow, somebody wrote this. Hey, Tabitha. When you begin working with new clients, do you ask them what they weigh if they don't offer this information right off the bat? And does a client's weight make any difference to you in terms of the kind of advice you give and how you communicate to him or her? I've always wondered about this one. Dorothy Pond. What a beautiful name. That's such a good name. Well, Dorothy Pond, no, I don't. It usually doesn't actually even occur to me to ask somebody's weight because it's just very uninteresting information for me. It doesn't tell me anything really of any impactful importance. Let's just put it that way. Sometimes people tell me their weight and I'm like, okay, great, nice. Anyway, tell me about X, Y, Z, because it doesn't tell me anything about the severity of their eating disorder. And that might seem like a ridiculous thing to say, but it's true. A person can present in a perfectly normal body weight, the sort of body weight that you wouldn't even blink twice at, and they can have a really, really severe eating disorder. So that's what I mean by that. It just doesn't give me any meaningful information. And so the answer to that is no, I don't ask people's weight, but it's not for the reasons that people often think it's for. A lot of the time people think, oh, you don't ask that person's weight because you don't want to trigger something or the other, or it's just not that. It's not. I just find it a relatively boring subject. I mean, I do. But it just doesn't tell me anything. I mean, I feel like I could ask them what the weather's like where they live, and that would give me relatively same amount of information as asking what their weight is when it comes to the severity of their eating disorder. People get so tripped up by that, though, doctors and stuff I'm talking about, because of DSM, doesn't it? Tells you, says, well, actually, I haven't looked at the DSM recently, so maybe they changed it. I'd love them to have changed it, but I very much doubt it. DSM says something, blah, 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 under BMI, blah, 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 is criteria for having anorexia nervosa, and I disagree with that, as you might have guessed. But most doctors, GPs, and all of that, they've only got that to go on, haven't they, really? And so that's what they go on. Not because they're stupid, not because they're ignorant, because why wouldn't you think that the DSM is the thing that you should be allowing to guide you? And so they do. And they look at that, and then they look at the person that presents in their office and goes, good. Normal body weight, fantastic. They can't have an eating disorder. And so it's tricky for a number of reasons. I really, really wish that people could get past body weight being an indicator of whether a person has an eating disorder or not. I understand it. Before I had an eating disorder and recovered from mom and all this jazz, that's exactly what I would have gone on. I took psychology at school, and that's what we were taught in A-level psychology. Person who has an eating disorder is low body weight and probably wants to be a supermodel. And that's the reason that they're starving themselves. That, and they probably got very deep psychological issues. That's the reason. That's what I was taught in school. And so that's what I thought that people with eating disorders, that's who I thought people with eating disorders were. And that is one of the reasons that I didn't believe I had an eating disorder, because I couldn't have an eating disorder because I didn't want to be a supermodel. That was for sure. I didn't want to be thin. That was for sure. So surely I couldn't have an eating disorder. Goes to say I did have an eating disorder, but it was that stereotype that made me think that I didn't. Sometimes people want to tell me their weight, and that's totally fine. A lot of the time people don't, though. I'm surprised, actually, when I think about it, how little that comes up in a new client conversation. Sometimes when people, I have new clients write me when they book the session, they can write any notes about themselves that they want me to know beforehand. And sometimes people will put their weight in there. And usually by the time I will glance at that, and usually by the time I actually talk to them, I've completely forgotten what it was, because that's how little significance their weight actually has in my brain. Like, they might have also written the body weight suppression behaviors that engage in and things like that, and that will stick, but their weight, whatever. Some people put their height in there as well. Lots of people put their age in there, and their age, probably even their height, might be more interesting to me than their weight. It's just fantastic if you think about it, from somebody that used to be obsessed with my own weight and everybody else's. It's a really wonderful thing that I don't take for granted, that my brain doesn't operate like that anymore. You know, one thing, I think I say this a lot, but one thing that having an eating disorder and then recovering from one does for you is that it makes you appreciate the beauty of a normal brain. Well, I'm not saying that my brain's completely normal. Nobody's is, but you know what I mean. A brain that doesn't have an eating disorder in it. Because having lived for so long in a brain that does have an eating disorder in it, and that was a pain in the ass, and your own brain annoys you, that was one of the things that really got me in the end, I think. My brain was so fucking annoying, just going on and on about shit I just didn't care about, but it wouldn't stop. Shit like calories and weight and what I'd eaten for breakfast yesterday and the day before and the day before that and the day before that, despite the fact it was always the same thing. My brain just went on and on about it. I bored myself stupid. And so having a brain that doesn't have an eating disorder in it is just a beautiful thing. I'm often just like, oh, I really like my brain. My brain's so cool. My brain doesn't annoy the shit out of me anymore. And that just makes life better, doesn't it, when you appreciate not having a brain that drives you mad? So there's lots of perks to getting fully recovered, and that is definitely one of them.